Okay, now quiet, guys. Now quiet, because I'll do the intros. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? What's going on? Welcome to the second episode of Merchants of Novigrad, a bi-weekly podcast where we discuss everything Gwent. Today with me are my two trusty co-hosts, Baby Joseph, commonly known as BJ, and Ville. And with this out of the way,
Morning,
please allow me to introduce our guest of the podcast, straight from the Green Market, the League Master, the unstoppable cyclist and marathon runner,
wow,
the one and only community manager at CD Projekt Red, Pawel Burza. How are you guys doing?
Good evening. Wow, what an intro, man! What an intro.
I had to do it.
Shocked. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
We're doing great.
And a few words to our viewers. Guys, if you have any questions to Pawel or any of us, you can ask them in chat. My dear friend BJ has been charged with the task of picking up the more interesting ones, and we're going to try to answer them as we go. Also, if you want to stay in touch off stream, you can follow us on Twitter at Novigrad Podcast. And if YouTube is a platform where you would rather watch the podcast, just type !YouTube and you will get redirected to our YouTube channel. And now it's time for the first segment. What have you been up to, Pawel? How is it going? How is life treating you? How are you feeling?
I'm pretty good. I mean, this last week was us trying to recover from Challenger and from the announcement, Fire and Judgment. I'm also in my final preparations for my fall marathon, which is coming up next Sunday. So I'm excited for that one. So kind of, doing the last work, seeing if, if the legs are okay, if I'm ready to race, and also working on stuff work related. So more card reveals coming, getting ready for the expansion, which is going to be amazing. We're really excited for Fire and Judgment here in the studio. And yeah, just, living life, trying to stay healthy because everybody's sick. I'm also I got a cold a little bit, so you can probably hear it that I'm talking a little bit differently than normally. That's that. Living life.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I wanted to ask, because we are trying to prep for each podcast. So I was following Reddit for a couple of days, and I noticed a couple of posts where people were like, CDPR, please give Pawel a couple of day rest. He needs it.
Really?
He
I didn't see
tired.
That. I didn't see that. I would give it to someone like, see, guys, I need a day off.
Yeah.
No, but I took Thursday off because the cold was getting me, and I needed a day off just to rest up and chill.
Yeah, and we are actually very, very happy that you are here because, as you said, it was a busy week, and still you made some time available to be on the podcast. We really appreciate it, man.
Easy. It's the weekend. I'm happy to be here. I love podcasts, so I'm always down for a podcast. It's fun.
And speaking of the marathon, it's not your first one.
It's my third one.
Third one. And you did also a night one, right?
That was a half. It was a half marathon. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It went super well. I got my PB there. So I think I'm also going for a personal best next weekend, if possible.
Oh, that sounds amazing. As I told you before the podcast, you are really setting an example for the Gwent community to get out there and exercise more and just take a short break from Gwent every now and then and take care of themselves. And that's something I really, really should do myself. As you guys can see, that's something I really should do myself. And maybe we can ask our co-host as well, guys. What have you been up to? I know that BJ was in Warsaw as well.
Yeah.
So how's your week, man?
Yeah, I caught a cold in Warsaw,
like everybody,
like everybody else. I know Flag also got a cold, I believe. But it was great to hang out at the viewer party in Warsaw with all the people in the Gwent community. When I came back, I started streaming again. In the same day when I came back, I had like 2 hours of sleep, and but I wanted to talk with everyone, with the viewers and stuff. And on Wednesday, I had another podcast with What's a Booty and Ash Explores, which was a great thing to do.
It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks. And now we are here.
And speaking of being back to Gwent after the Challenger, I think you have a leak for us later today. Is that true, BJ?
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, some more leaks incoming.
Dum, dum, dum.
Ville, what have you been up to?
Nothing much, just playing some Gwent. Of course, enjoyed the Challenger last weekend. Overall just chilling, enjoying Gwent actually quite a lot at the moment. So everything's good on my part.
Yeah, glad to hear, man. Glad to hear. For me personally, this week has been kind of crazy. I haven't streamed much, but I was just so excited for everything that's coming. Of course, straight off the Challenger, I was so hyped to watch the tournament again. I love the tournaments, and the production value that goes into it. It's really my thing. And then we already knew that Pawel is coming to our podcast, so like the whole week I was just trying to get some sleep because I was so excited. I was like, I can't fall asleep. Oh, Pawel is coming. Oh God, I can't fall asleep. and then a couple of days ago, I was talking to Mateusz from CDPR, and they gave me a card review, and that was actually the card I asked for. So I was so hyped. Then I was like, oh my God, Friday, I need to review a card, and Saturday Pawel. Panic! What do I do?
It's fine. Come on. You're doing great.
It all went fine, and I'm just super excited for the opportunity because a couple of months ago, I almost gave up on Gwent.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was the post-homecoming trauma, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But the game has changed so much that I gave it another go, and it's just so good to play right now.
Hopefully, we're going in the right direction now.
I think you are. Personally, I think you are. Guys, moving on to the next segment, which is the Challenger. The Challenger number 5.
Dun.
And as always, we want to start with our lovely guest, Pawel. I have a question because it's amazing to watch the Challenger in front of a PC, but how does it feel to be in the center of things?
It's crazy, a little bit stressful. It takes when we were thinking about it, it takes 2 weeks just to prepare the studio itself. So the guys, because we use the Gwent Tavern itself for recording Twig, whenever we have an esports event, everything, all the cables, everything gets pretty much stripped down to the bare bone and put everything. And this is all the audio cables, all the streaming stuff, all the videos, camera setups once again. And then we have the guy who does our lighting come in, and he sets up the lighting. And for this one, we changed the lighting a little bit to give it a little bit of a different feel since we had Arid in there. So we could not have the dandelion happy alive tavern, and it needs to be a little bit more gloomy. So I went with that. Second day, some of you probably saw we had some really cool skulls of animals that actually belong to Kashara Deshuk. You might know her. She's working now on Cyberpunk and used to also do a lot of stuff as an art director for Gwent. So those were pretty cool. And apart from that, when the day starts very early for us, we get to the studio around 11 a.m. and then we start preparing everything, doing final rehearsals, checking if the audio works, if the video works, if we know our scripts, if we know what to say. It was really cool because I got to work with Ash again, and we worked previously on the Round of Gwent a long time ago. So it was really cool to work once again, and we were going through the script, and she was like, "Oh, should I hit all?" She was very professional about it, should I hit all these cues and stuff like that? I'm always like, just chill. We'll figure it out on the go. You don't have to be you can always say what we will pass on this information in this kind of way, but you don't have to stick to the script 100%, because I feel sticking to scripts is it's not always fun, and it will not always work, because most of the time you just go with the flow, and what you want to say, you just say it. So that was fun. And apart from that, for me, I'm going to I'm always the admin of the tournament, so I have to be there all the time, and I'm sitting with the production guys in the production room, let's say. So I'm watching the matches live as they go. I have Twitch chat always open, kind of seeing what the reactions are to the stuff, and also seeing if people are not complaining about anything or something not working. Because if the volume is too loud or something is covering something, I can always react to that. And I'm then just in charge of starting the games, letting the players know, and to sit down, telling them the bans, and pretty much firing the whole thing up so they actually start at the same time. Because it needs to be sequenced, since we're on a specific build just for the tournament. So you have a build that is similar to the live build that you have of the game, but it's a LAN build that is offline. And you have the spectator mode, and in order for the spectator to connect, you first need the blue player to connect and the red player to connect, and then the spectators are also the casters themselves, which needs to connect to that game, and then you have the analyst as a spectator who also needs to connect to the game. And once everybody's connected, You have a server, which you define which player is going first, who's going second, and stuff like that. So it determines the coin flip in this case. Yeah, so it's a complicated procedure, but it's cool. You just need to check all the boxes, and it happens.
And then you can finally go. You can finally see the players doing their thing, and that's actually the next question, because for me, I can feel the intensity and the focus of players just watching from my desk, basically. How does it feel to be right among them? How does it feel to watch the best players in the world play Gwent and making some unbelievable plays?
Like, for me, I kind of always sucks because I need to be in work mode and I need to be focusing on getting stuff done, and I don't have enough time just to like relax, talk to them, and chill, because I pretty much come in, I need to get some stuff done, post some things, do work on final like preparations, and I don't have enough time just to sit down and like, so, how are you? What's up? It's like you don't have that time for it. But it's really cool because when we have other events where they're not connected to, streaming an esports tournament, you can actually like sit down and talk to them a little bit more, find out what they're up to, like what's happening in life. And it's also like really cool to get to know them on a personal level. Is just something totally different. But it hardly ever happens. Because if you're on an esports event, you're pretty much doing work, and you need to focus on, okay, is this working? Do we have this? Is this the flow? Is this the run of the show? Should we change this, or maybe we should move this? And there's always something. Oh, I need to get ready. I need to get makeup. Oh, I need to do that. So it's like, woo, you just go crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of the whole procedure, the suits, because you told us you have a stylist, like all of you have a stylist on the tournament. The suits were so flamboyant. They were so amazing.
Oof. They were glamorous.
Yeah, I felt that's a premium event. For all the Twitch boys, that's spot on.
For Challenger, we always we have the same stylist, and she always goes crazy for Challenger because it's more of, let's say, of a premium event. It's not the same thing as the standard opens, where you can pretty much, you could probably come out with just like a shirt and a nice jacket, but here it needs to be like, it has to be crazy. It needs to be very colorful and, kind of in your face, and the combinations of colors that she comes up with, they always like work perfectly. So yeah, it's amazing.
And as I told you, I was really happy with your suit on day one. I was ready
to Guardian.
I was ready to fly the Imperial banner, just scream Hell Carter. Burza is our guy confirmed. This Koyoto thing, that was just fluke.
Yeah, no. I'm sticking to that. Although, like we talked about before the podcast, if you know your Witcher history, you know that it kind of ties. So yeah.
And you said that you get to know the casters on a more personal level. This was the first tournament in 6 months, I think.
Yeah, it was a long time.
How did it feel to work with all the casters again? Some of them were returning casters, some of them were new casters. Green Cricket, great addition, by the way. How did it feel to work with the guys again?
It's always amazing. Like when everybody comes to the studio, we hardly ever get to meet because they come like on Wednesday or Thursday. It's hard to meet like 1 day, 2 days earlier to actually like sit down and chill and talk, because it's always like work, and you just get back home. And for me, it's work, but it's also training, because I'm like running daily and doing gym sessions in between that, and trying to, get ready for the marathon thing. So I pretty much finish work, I go home, I get something to eat, and then I'm just like, I'm out, and I go to sleep, wake up in the morning, 5 a.m., and repeat the whole procedure. So you don't get much time, but on Friday, we always have the draw show, and before that, we have like a rehearsal where we get our suits, we get our makeup. So that's the time where we just kind of sit down. We're like, oh my God, it's so good to see all of you back again. It's like, the kids are kind of coming home in some way. So it's good.
That must feel great. And this is also the first time ever you actually invited content creators and just people who love Gwent to the actual party.
Yes.
And
that was actually...
and I know that our friend BJ was there as well. Yeah. So he'll probably have some input. But did you actually have time to talk to the people and just, go with the crowd? Because I know that Jason was the man of the event. Like a lot of people were just chasing Jason and trying to talk to him.
Yeah, Jason was chilling there the first day. He pretty much sat down, opened a couple beers, and chilled. I wish I could have fraternity, but I just came out. What I wanted to do is before we started to get to the studio, I went earlier for makeup and getting dressed, and I went out on stage to thank everybody for coming. Because the whole like community initiative was planned by Alicia, who you might know if you're really into Gwent. Like she's very active on Discord. She's a community manager at CDPR. She's a big Gwent lover, so it's really cool to have her in the team. And yeah, she's like, oh, we should totally like do, have the community here. At first, I was like, so there's going to be like 60 people here in the studio. That's going to be crazy. And then when it happened, I was like, wow, it's incredible. So many people came, and then people came from like all over the world. I was like, wow, really?
Yeah, mad props to Pumpkin, because I know that if you are in Europe, we have budget airlines, you can fly on the cheap, but flying from North America just to hang out with fellow Gwent content creators, that's just mad. Props
it was great to meet him. It was great to meet him, but I also wish I had more time just to sit down and talk with him a little bit more about like Gwent overall, about stuff. And I mean, we talk on Discord, but it's not the same as you get to see the person. Like I just remember they Repic, our events manager, like brought him a day earlier, and he brought him to the studio. And we were doing rehearsals, and I just saw him, and I just remember I just like hugging him, like, oh my god! And I went to all the casters, look, it's my brother from another mother. It's like, it's incredible. And yeah, I was excited to see him. Yeah,
and he played the showcase match on the iOS. It was very cool.
Yeah. But he was my number one choice for that one.
Yeah. But is that actually something you want to do in the future?
The
crowd, the community event that is tied to the tournament.
I mean, esports events should have a crowd, and it's very easy for us because we're located in Poland, and we have a very, very big like Polish Witcher, Gwent / CDPR, people that love the company, love the Witcher lore, love the whole thing. And it's very easy to actually get them to the studio. So like, we're never afraid that we might not have a big crowd, because we know a lot of people will come and they will sign up. And there were like a lot more people signing up, but we could only like fit up to 60, which we thought 50 in the beginning. They were like, 10 more, we could probably like squeeze it in our social area. So yeah, it happened, and it was amazing. I wasn't very sure about it at the beginning, but once it happened, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So yeah, so before the whole event started, I just went out on stage and just thanked everybody for coming, thanked them for the support, because like you guys know, and everybody knows, like the last year wasn't easy for Gwent overall, and we're kind of trying to get back up after everything that happened with Homecoming. So it's really, really overwhelming to see the amount of support and the amount of people coming and just cheering and clapping. And it was overwhelming, and it was very, very nice. So kudos to them, and kudos to you for coming. It was amazing. And also to everybody watching at home, it was crazy.
I can imagine just so many people made a decision on the spot. It wasn't even a thing. Do I have the money? Am I gonna go? Like, is there still room? It was just whether I get invited or not, I'm coming. A lot of people did exactly that, and I know that BJ is one of them. So BJ, how did it feel for you to be part of an event like that?
I mean, it was truly amazing. Like, you were watching with all the people from the Gwent community. You're talking with each other. You're eating pizzas. Alicia, you ordered like a lot of pizzas.
70.
70, right? Yeah.
35 per day.
It was amazing, and you had you could win prizes by predicting the correct scores of the matches, and it was a lot of fun. Just in general, the atmosphere was really great to be there. I had a lot of fun watching, and they did amazing time to host the event.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the next question is gonna be for both of you. 8.5 hours. 8.5 hours in the studio, watching like a beast. How did it feel, guys? 8.5 hours. That was a pretty long session. Did you anticipate that it's gonna take really that long, or was it more like, okay, it just happened that way?
So you want to go first, or should I go first?
You can go first.
We're like kind of always there, sitting and kind of like, we'll see. Either it will be super, super long, or it's going to be a quick one. And if it's like 3-0, we're like, yeah, we're going to go home early. But if it's something that keeps on going, we're just like, yeah, it's okay. But this one was like the longest one. And it's longer because challengers always have the analysts, which kind of had a little bit more time to the whole stream. And and I think, we're also like the guys in the production room, they were kind of like, okay, the guys are talking about the decks. It's been lasting for some time. Let's get into the game. So we would pretty much put the versus screen earlier. So they're like, oh, we have to talk about bans now. So it's like, see ya, guys, you got to move on. So we can move a little bit more quicker with the whole thing. But it was fun. I mean, come on. All this stuff and like watching those plays, and like when we're talking with the casters, like every esports event that we have is just, it just gets better in terms of the gameplay, and everybody like banned Francesca, which is good. So I mean, it was apart, of course, Francesca was, I think, not banned twice, but apart from that, it's just like the gameplay and how they played the games and all that stuff was just top notch, which is always crazy and good to watch.
Yeah, for me, I did not mind that it was like 8.5 hours because it was 8.5 hours. I was able to spend 8.5 hours with the other Gwent community and watching the games. Like, yeah, it was the longest in history, but I think it was truly amazing. And I mean, I can imagine it was like really tiresome for like the casters. They have to talk for 8.5 hours. But
but they were good about it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Especially like Jaggeris was like, they're like, oh, we have more Gwent to play, and she was excited about it. But getting off the like caster desk, she was like, oh, I'm so tired. I just want to go to sleep. Because you're tired.
Yeah, speaking of being tired, we actually have a question that I was originally asked by a good friend of us, Dr. Dennis, who actually helps make this podcast. And the question is, what's more exhausting, running a marathon or doing 8.5 hours of the Gwent Challenger?
I would say 8 hours of the Challenger, because marathon, if you run it in 3 hours, you're done after that 3 hours. The last couple kilometers, you're dying, but you just want to get to the finish line. And when you have 8 hours of sitting, moving, and you're kind of exhausted because you woke up early and you were doing also other stuff and preparation and stress and all that stuff, it kind of gets in you and then it vents out. And you're also eating a lot. And on these like events, I pretty much break all my diets, so I just eat everything. And there's candy and sweets that they bring us, and I eat all that stuff. It's just like, oh, mama. So you get a sugar rush, then you get a sugar low, and it's like, it's a mix of everything. So those are difficult to do. And everybody thought, like, after the first day that I was drunk when I was running around with the Switch. And I was just tired. And when I'm super tired, I'm just like, hi. So yeah.
So what were you playing on the Switch?
It was actually, it wasn't Witcher 3 on Switch, although I wish it was Witcher 3 on Switch, but it didn't come out. It was a YouTube video of Witcher 3 on Switch. So I was just like, hello. So it's like, looks perfect. I mean,
yeah, top-notch marketing.
Yeah. It was something funny that we came up with. Because our production guy, Mihao, he was like, well, I talked to one of our communications directors. They were like, oh, it would be cool just to like mention somewhere in the stream, that Witcher 3 is coming out on Switch on the October 15th and stuff like that. And he said like, oh, but don't do it in like important parts of the tournament. Like try to keep it low key and like because we don't really want to like use the tournament as a big marketing thing. I mean, we already have iOS there and we have Iron Judgment, so those are things that we should be pushing. And then I came in and then we were talking about it. It's like, oh, we should probably give this a bigger spin, but let's not tell the casters. So let's not tell us. Let's just do it like YOLO. So because after sitting so many hours, you're kind of like everything's working, everything's transitioning well, the games are starting, we didn't have any technical difficulties apart from like one match that didn't want to start and we had to restart the clients and re-queue everybody and it worked. So yeah, I just pretty much was like, okay, so maybe we should do it now. He's like, no, let's wait when Ash is doing an interview, and then you'll jump in with the Switch and be like pretending to play and stuff like that. So yeah, I really went into that one and had fun with it. So yeah, more because I wasn't like, she was doing all the heavy lifting when it comes to hosting. So I was like, I might as well just have fun. So yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that we had in mind before the podcast. I was like, guys, do you have Switch? Because if somebody had Switch, we could just interrupt you every now and then and saying, Pavel, Witcher 3 on Switch, amazing, right? Have you seen?
Yeah. Witcher 3 on Switch. Where's my Switch? My Switch is actually back there. I might get it in a second.
There's actually one more question regarding the super long session of the Challenger, because you are a committed cyclist.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you that before the podcast. Did you cycle home after the
No, I did not.
Hours?
I did not. It's very, very cold now in Warsaw. So for the whole week there, it was just the weather was up and down, and I was cycling to work, and I was kind of feeling under the weather already, so I didn't want to get sick. So I totally said like, no biking. And Mateusz, who works with me, who works with most of the content creators, he lives on like, I'm on his way, so he would just pick me up in the morning and we would go together. So it was very convenient. So didn't need to take any taxis or anything. So I left the bike at home, so it could sit peacefully in the warmth of the house.
You were talking a lot about the production, about the whole process, and there's one thing that people noticed, and we know it's somewhat a touchy issue, because normally the Challenger would be held at a special location, and this time it was a studio.
Yeah.
And it feels bad to ask, but we have to ask because the community requires us to ask things like that. How did you guys make the call? What prompted it? Why the studio and not a special location like always?
We had a lot of plans when it comes to this Challenger. We've been planning it for a lot of months. The first idea was to go to Romania to get a proper monster Dracula castle type feel. Second option was to actually get a remnant of a fort here in Warsaw, where we organize some events, like internal events for the company. So it had also a very, very nice feel and kind of medieval look to it. And it would, there was idea to do it because we were thinking about this around the time where Syndicate was going to launch. And we're like, it would be really cool to tie it to like the arena and people fighting in the arena and kind of have the Syndicate vibe to it, get cosplayers in there. But the more we were kind of thinking about it and trying to make this work, we need to also take into consideration that there is a budget that we need to kind of allocate to these things. And in this case, we could not go like fully crazy because we haven't finished season 1 and there's other things we still need to do. And we need to start season 2 because, as you guys said, like it was the first event since like 6 months, which is a lot of downtime for competitive stuff. And like we know that some organizations and some pro players, like they need something to be going on because they treat esports as, something that puts, bread on their table pretty much. So, we were like, we probably going to have to scale down. I mean, we're doing all these expansions every 2 months and we're trying to kind of keep everything going and keeping everything afloat. But it's not always perfect. Like we need to think about how much money we're actually making and how much we can allocate to the event itself. Plus, we need to remember that the prize pool is pretty significant. So it's a mix of all these things where we were like, okay, we're going to have to scale down and we're probably going to have to use the Gwent studio because we can do the production in that studio ourselves. We don't need ESL or any other company to help us with that. And then we could, it's a lot cheaper just to do it there and it's a lot easier to do it. So yeah, we just decided, okay, it's time to scale down a bit and see if we scale down now, maybe in the future we can do other things and kind of keep the ball rolling moving forward.
I mean, still, despite all these problems that you just mentioned, the production value was there. Tournaments were highly enjoyable from the production perspective. I really liked it. Mm-hmm. I like the Eridan. I like the caster choices for the tournament. Props to our own guy, Flake, who is a fellow team member. And obviously, I think the community was absolutely excited to see Ash back. And the addition of green cricket, just top-notch analyst. But you were talking about the future of tournaments, and you can't see it on his face, but I know that Ville is very, very eager to ask you a question about that.
Oh yeah, so I want to ask about season 2. Of course, this is a hot topic everyone's wondering about, so I'm gonna just put it out there. Is there any details you can give us regarding Masters season 2?
I wish I could, but not yet. Like we have a rough plan since, I don't know, like a month or two, where we want to switch it up a little bit in terms of having more online focused stuff. So there's kind of more tournaments, but they are pretty much happening online, and they have smaller prize pools in between to kind of keep everything more going, instead of having like a break in between a couple months and having bigger events with bigger prize pools, but also have these bigger events with bigger prize pools, but kind of have these smaller events in between with a bigger online focus there. And then kind of we're also kind of thinking about I don't know what you guys think about the idea to have the possibility of actually starting season 2 and then waiting with doing World Masters, because it's also something that is not off the table, because since we were offline, let's say, for such a long time, it would be really cool just to start with season 2 and then do season 2 and actually start and then do World Masters kind of in between season 2 already happening. So this is also a possibility, but like I said, this is still something that is being discussed, that is still in the works and needs to be run by higher ups. So we'll see.
We asked because quite a few members of the community were thinking there's not gonna be a season 2. So like,
there has to be.
So that is already a leak. So guys, if you were worried, if you're a competitive player, if you were worried that there's not gonna be a season 2, you just heard the man himself. Season 2 is coming in a slightly different format, probably. There's still a lot of things in the work, but it is coming.
I mean, it has to happen. I mean, we have a really awesome esports scene. We started out like very, very high with a bang, and I think also, to be quite frank, it was kind of a mistake to go all crazy. Like, first one we did in a big studio, the game was like early beta. Esports, let's do it. Esports ready, and then it's like, oh, how can we top ourselves? Well, let's rent a castle, and then we did a castle. What now? Let's go underground and get a salt mine. So what now? Let's make a whole Skellige village, because why not? And then it was kind of like boom, 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 boom. It's like, guys, we're kind of like going too crazy with this stuff. Maybe we should scale down a bit and kind of like keep things, kind of level, because we're doing it a little bit too crazy. And if you look at the scene right now and the market, card games are not really the hottest thing right now. So it's like you can see the whole industry is kind of like, nothing too super exciting, apart from maybe MTG like doing big moves and stuff like that. Like, even comparing like Hearthstone, I don't think they're as amazing as they used to be. Mm-hmm. And it also, like, for us, like we had our time where we were like top, and now it's kind of like It's difficult. It's a difficult market to kind of move around in. Everybody's now playing these chess games or whatever. I don't know what kids seeing that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we'll see. Yeah, but we went crazy.
There was also a question from Fast23, and he's asking if Gwent needs more marketing, advertisement, or exposure, or if the company thinks it's fine the way it is right now.
No, we want to do more. We want to do a lot more when it comes to like marketing. But in order to do marketing, we still feel like some things need to be done to the game when it's in a stable state, because when you're pushing and doing marketing and trying to acquire new users, you need to have a really good pretty much entry point into the game. And I feel like this is something that still needs work, and I know this is something that Jason and the team is working very heavily on. Okay. So redoing the tutorial, redoing the whole onboarding process. So it's fun to get into the game. It's very easy to get into the game, and it kind of grasps you and wants you to go on and play more. And this is the most important thing right now, and this is the focus. And so when we do iOS launch, I think this is where the big marketing push will happen.
Exactly, and I think social media can definitely be like a big role.
Yeah. I mean, social media, ads, all that stuff. I mean, all these things are very, very important. So we really want to be pushing and getting new players on board because that will raise the popularity of the game. We already have like a solid community that can help introduce these players to the game, which is awesome. Like I've been seeing every time we do like a challenger or any type of esports event, there's more new players coming to Reddit and kind of asking questions about it and trying to get to know like what is this game? I came from MTG, I came from Hearthstone, I came from this, like what's the economy in the game? Is like, am I able to get a full collection? And all these kind of questions. And the community is like very welcoming and answering these questions and kind of like letting these people in, which is really nice. So I think we're good at that front. What we need to do is trying to work on the game itself and then trying to get more people into the game itself.
Speaking about the marketing part, but also about the fact that you consider doing a lot of smaller online tournaments, there's one thing that could help, and I think it was brought up by Woody, who you already know from his own podcast, and Villa, and that's the spectator mode.
Yeah.
You know that question was coming.
Yeah, it's an important feature on our list, but in order to do it, we need to allocate a lot of dev time to get that stuff working, and like we pretty much have all our forces and everything fully focused on getting thing done for the iOS launch. So working on animations to speed them up, working on polishing the game of some things that are not fully polished. Working on Iron Judgment right now, and one thing that I know that will happen for sure and that we still need to kind of openly communicate is that probably we won't have all the premiums coming at once to the game, which is a big thing because we're trying to kind of catch up and get those things going. So, there's a lot of things that need to be done. And the biggest thing, like I said, is working currently on getting the tutorial, all that stuff kind of revamped, redone, so we can have new players kind of surge into the game and have a really good experience. So those are like the number one things. And once we get these done, we can start thinking about, introducing new features, and Spectator in some ways a new feature. But like you said, it's a thing that we should have for a long time. And I hope that it's like the next step after we get everything done here with the launch for iOS.
Yeah, I think you made some really valid points because as a streamer, I often have newcomers, especially after the challenger, who just come to my stream and say, "Hey, I'm new to this game. I've heard about the iOS announcement, and how do you play it? There's like no real tutorial. Like, what are the currencies in game?"
Yeah.
So you made some really valid points that that new player experience should definitely be worked on.
Yeah, that's one thing, and I think we also kind of put a very fast clock on us. When it comes to doing every 3 months, going out crazy with an expansion, and so right off the bat we went crazy with Crimson Curse, which was like super content heavy. And then if you look at Novigrad, it's a little bit less cards, but it's a new faction being introduced to the game, which is crazy. And now we have another mix of new cards coming in to different factions for Iron Judgment. Plus, we also have Radovid making a comeback. So it's a mix of a lot of things happening. And in between that, we still need to remember that we are working on really cool stuff, that we're working on new features, that we're already working on the next expansion that is coming. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff to kind of be juggling at the same time, and we need to be smart on how we allocate each time and what we do first, what we do second, and what we do third, and kind of keep it going. But yeah, the most important thing is to kind of remember about iOS and remember about us moving to mobile devices, because I mean, it's the key here. And that is something that will help the game, pretty much thrive and get more players in and kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. We'll have a segment about both the expansions and the mobile, but to lighten the mood up a little bit, because these topics are very, very grim and very detailed, and there's a lot of procedures and how everything is being developed. Back to the tournament. Like, there's a question I want to ask every single one of you, because we've seen some unconventional stuff being played, and the question I want to ask is the favorite play of the tournament.
Oh, I know that.
Hmm.
So when Freddy played those spotters and he created those
Oh,
spotters
yeah.
and they all got the keyboard, it was like the audience went crazy when that happened, man. And
Yeah,
I think
that was play of the game.
That was like game breaking. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, that's also my favorite play, the spotter addition. Oh, and when he created the spotter, I just went nuts.
yeah, exactly.
Villa, because you were watching that tournament with me and Browser.
Yeah.
Your favorite play?
I think my favorite play again comes from Freddy, but it was the Aracos Queen. I think he went double portal with Angulum round
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And that was really spicy. He played it with Whispering Hillock, I remember that, so that was pretty cool.
And now to the man himself, because you were watching that from a few meters away, so it's much different than watching that on your own PC. Your favorite play, Pawel?
It's a tough one, because I love the spotters one, and that for me will be the number one in the game itself. I was really happy about all the Scoia'tael plays that we were able to see, although Francesco is being banned all over the place.
Yeah, wow.
And I thought, like, it's a very, very consistent deck. It was really good to see it in action, but kind of see that, it's kind of easy to counterplay still. So it was a mix of everything. I don't think I have like a number one play that I would name out of this, apart of course from the Freddy spotter thing, which was everybody, like, we in the studio went crazy, and everybody also in the studio, like, watching the live stream also went crazy. So it was a cool one.
The next question that kind of touches on the point that you already made, that you are working already on the next expansion, because whenever we have a tournament, it's usually a couple of weeks before a patch or an expansion. There is always some unusual stuff. There's always some various texts that we haven't seen before. There is sometimes players highlight a leader that wasn't being played very often. Do you guys factor this in when you are already working on an expansion? Or is it more like, yeah, we have just our own thing, which is going to go with the plan? Or is it more like, oh my god, Tybalt broke the game again?
We kind of, like, we take it into account, like, all the guys who work on design, they watch the tournament scene, and they take these things into account. But we also need to remember that with this expansion, when we'll be introducing it, we also will be doing some tweaks to cards that already exist in the game. So we will kind of see how the meta will shape. Like, of course, some of you saw, because some of the abilities kind of leaked a little bit in some way due to our observer.
Yeah.
Because getting into that one for a second, it was an interesting one because, like I said, we have a special offline build just for the tournament, and we needed to make a different version of Spectator that would work on a build that is not online and works in a totally different way. And it was like a whole mix of things, and yeah, the data set there was from the PTR that we were holding at the same time. So it was interesting because it was a mix of things, and people saw like the changes to Erika's Queen, and thankfully not many other stuff, but yeah, you could see that stuff happening. So yeah, but of course, yeah, our design team totally, like, you can see Rishik, he's in chat, like, he said hi to everybody right now. He watches closely, also the same thing. They watch closely, they watch like whatever is happening, they watch streams, and they kind of look for things which are cool, which are broken, which need buffs. So yeah, they're very aware of what's happening. And the same goes for like PTR. They talk to the players themselves. I'm just the guy that kind of sets up, stuff for them, so they actually have a platform to talk on, and that's how it goes. Yeah.
Because we touched on the subject of the expansion, guys, and that's a question to everyone. On a scale from 1 to 10, how hyped are you?
10.
10, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
10
Yeah,
easy.
Of course.
Yeah, easy 10.
Easy. Like you and Jason, you said we are doing some crazy things for the expansion, and initially I was like, nah, they're just doing the marketing. But then I saw the cards.
Yeah,
it's a 10. And guys, if you are in chat, if you don't know what the expansion is, it's called Iron Judgment, not Iron Justice. Flake, I know you're watching. It's Iron Judgment, and we actually have the trailer for you. I know that most of you have already watched it during the
But that was McBeard. That wasn't Flake. McBeard always Iron Justice.
No,
That was
it
McBeard?
was-
I think it was
I
Flake.
think it was McBeard.
Oh, really?
Really?
I think it was McBeard who said it wrong, and then Flake was trying to pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a fail, guys. Viewers are gone. We failed. But yeah, guys, we actually have the trailer for you. I know that most of people watched it or either during the tournament or shortly afterwards. But if, due to whatever unknown reason, you haven't watched the trailer yet, we have it right here for you. So let's get it going.
I love this one.
That's really good.
In the game of kings, one must remain vigilant, lest lesser men take advantage. My advisors speak of strategy like chess, yet beasts need no such thing to dominate. We must invest in our arms and capabilities, or see our strategy fail unfairly. Our foes will not hesitate to bear their full strength, and neither should we bow before your rightful king.
Bam.
There we go.
Damn!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's,
has been
that's
waiting
just
for-
so good.
Yeah.
Like the try. I mean, this is something that transfers from all your games, not only Gwent but also the Witcher games and Cyberpunk. Like I think the first time I really fell in love with the Witcher trailers was like The Witcher 1. When Geralt was chasing the Striga, I was like, oh, wow.
I love that one. I love that one.
And then when The Witcher 2 came out and you had Lethal Kingslayer just killing Demavent, I was like, oh, this is Pog. This is just so amazing. So amazing trailer. And yeah, guys, we are so stoked for the expansion.
Yeah, I love those trailers, and even seeing it for like the 1,000th time and seeing it in final form and remembering how it used to look before, like when you have the mock-ups of everything, kind of, with Radovid being like a drawn picture and stuff like that. It's really cool once it all gets animated and working, and it's a lot of work. And on this trailer, it was, I think, the most ambitious one that we did for the expansion, like recently. Because it took work, like we were getting help from our video editors, were getting help from people working on the game itself, so working on all the animations in the game and on the art team and everybody, so they were all kind of coming in and adding new stuff. So yeah, it was a long process, but looking at the like finished product, it's just amazing. Yeah.
And speaking about the expansion and your work actually, because you said you guys have things lined up like way in advance.
We have to.
Yeah. How does it feel for you to know all that amazing stuff that's coming to the game and not being able to talk about it?
It's hard because you just want to leak everything to the people and show them, especially when you see that like community sentiment overall is not very high, or we're having a meta which isn't like really good, or it's a little bit kind of stale in the air, and it's like, you want to go like crazy and show amazing things. And I already see like the art that is coming with the next expansion, and I'm just like, oh my god, if people saw this, they would freak the hell out. And it's like, and you can't. You're just like, oh, I can't do it yet because it'll ruin the whole surprise.
Yeah.
And you can't show it yet. But then you see it because like we have like like internal servers where we have the whole art dispository where we see what people are working on, and they kind of upload stuff there. So I kind of like coming into work in the morning, getting a coffee, opening that up, and you see everything. You see everything from Cyberpunk to Gwent and all the arts and all the new UI changes or whatever it is, and you see all of that like dumped into one place, and your head is like, oh my god, this is so cool, this is so cool, I want to see, oh, what's this? It's like, oh, it's just too much stuff at once. So it's fun.
Yeah, and speaking of the joy of leaking stuff, I think we actually have something for our
We
viewers
do.
today.
Dum da da dum
Dum,
dum
da, da,
dum
dum.
dum.
There it is.
The
Pawel.
Kikimora Queen. You saw it in the trailer too.
You saw the
Yeah,
trailer.
you saw. You already
Yes.
saw her. Yeah.
What can you tell
Yep.
us about the card?
So this beautiful lady has Thrive, and whenever Thrive of this unit is triggered, it boosts all allied insectoids on this row by 1, which is cray. But
It
yeah,
is.
I love this card. Monster's getting some cool stuff
yeah.
going.
Like the insectoid theme is coming together.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think they need something like this. They need this legendary unit. It's hyper, but I feel like it's gonna shake up stuff. And Thrive always needs to be something that is in the game, and already saw some examples with monsters kind of going this way. So I think it's gonna be good. Like we have the larva of the Endraga, which also has Thrive, and then spawn a base copy of this unit and summon it to its row on deploy. So insectoids are kind of getting things going. So
Yeah.
and we have the Endraga Warrior, the Kikimora Worker, and the Endraga Egg also coming with this pretty much expansion. So there's a lot of kind of themes around this. So I think people will be happy overall with the addition of more insectoid units.
Yeah, exactly. Because the insectoids, they were kind of underwhelming
Mm-hmm.
in monster decks before. So yeah, someone was also asking like, is monsters getting a big rework or like a buff? But yeah, I think that's the answer.
Yeah, now like since we're moving to the thing that we will be pretty much separating leader models from their abilities. So you can pretty much have a cool Eridin that is an insectoid leader, which is going to be funny at the same time, but it's also going to be cool.
Yeah, that's going to happen with the upcoming patch?
Yes,
Right?
that's the plan. Yes.
Cool.
Speaking of leaks, Radovid, because we have to ask. It's been asked so many times on Reddit. Is it only a skin, or is there gonna be an ability linked to him?
It's gonna be, if I remember correctly, it's gonna be a mix of both. So it's gonna be skin plus ability. So yeah, I think so. If I might be wrong, then sorry, but I think I'm not wrong. But there's Rishik in chat, so he can clarify that. Rishik, are you there? Help the poor man out. Yep. Or he's not here. It's only a skin. Confirmed.
Okay.
See? There we go. My bad.
Yeah.
Now maybe in the future, because that's one thing that you already guys confirmed, that the move to unbind the leaders, the abilities from skins, is gonna allow you to just drop more abilities without adding more skins to the game.
Yeah, true. Because if you think about it, if you need to design ability, and also get the model for the leader, it takes a lot of time. Like the whole process to getting the model like functional, working, and get it moving and all that stuff takes a lot of time. So it'll be a lot easier just to add abilities later on and then attach them to skins to pretty much make everything working well.
And one thing that we really want to ask is, how do you decide which archetypes or which mechanics are being expanded in an expansion? Because, the Assimilate is getting some cards for now, this expansion, and we're just wondering, is it being decided like way before, or do you first get the art and then think about what is being played, what is being not played, and if there is a need to expand an archetype or a mechanic that's already in the game?
It's a mix of a little bit of everything. Like the guys have some initial ideas of what they want to do, and before that they kind of think about how they want to execute the whole idea for the expansion and which archetypes they want to boost. And we also have Jason coming in between and kind of going like, I think it would be cool to do this and this and that, and they kind of talk about it amongst the designers plus Jason, and they kind of try to find balance, like what would work the best and which archetypes need a little bit more love, and then they start implementing things and see how it works. And based on then testing, a lot of play testing, of course, and then PTRs, we are able to kind of determine if this is the right direction to go or if we should be going a totally different direction, for example.
Yeah, and speaking of the cards that we already know, because the review campaign is on, Reddit and the community in general is up in arms when it comes to several concepts. And the first question will be, how do you guys feel about armor, shield, and immunity being in the game at the same time?
I think that people should actually play it and see for themselves that it's not that bad as they think. So once the expansion hits, you'll be pretty much able to check it out and kind of see that it's not really that bad, and it's something that you will be able to play around. But hopefully we won't get the Broken Syndicate vibe that we had with the infinite number of coins and the infinite number of triggers on everything. So that was also fun to play when it was broken, but maybe a little bit too fun and crazy. So I think it'll be okay. I have very good and big faith in the design team that they know what they're doing. So it'll be killer.
One mechanic that I think everyone is kind of concerned about is the Defender.
Defender, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I'm looking for a card that has the Defender tag. Does Trollolo have the Defender tag?
Look for the
I think he does.
one.
But I don't think it's on the list yet. Let's quickly refresh the card reveals if we already have it in there. I don't think it's on the list.
It might not be yet on the list.
Yeah, so the Defender. How do you guys feel about that?
For me, it's okay. You guys say what you think.
Personally,
there are a lot.
Yeah, BJ, go on, man.
There are a lot of ways to counter it. Like you can move it to the other round. What are they gonna do? You can purify the defender state. So I think there are easy ways to counter it. But if you don't have those cards in your deck, then it might be problematic.
Yeah. Villa, because you've been just sitting here looking at how smooth Pawel is. I know it's a very mesmerizing view, but we need to hear your opinion, man.
Yeah, I think Defender is actually a very nice addition to the game. I feel like it's gonna add an extra layer to deck building for sure, because now you have to consider defenders and playing against them, what your strategy is against them. So overall, I'm happy, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how people actually then decide to build the decks around them.
Yeah. Personally, I think that Defender is basically the new Venendal Elite or Universe Invocation, where the community says, oh my god, it's broken. Like, it's so hard to remove, everyone's gonna play it, and then when the patch drops, like, some people will play it, but not everyone, and it's not gonna be a big issue.
Yeah.
And one question that we got yesterday, I think, from one of our friends is, live-in armor, does it get banished? Does it get banished when you kill it? Like when you lower its armor to 0, does it get banished?
As far as I know, no. But once again, gameplay question. More for the gameplay guys in this case.
Yeah, because especially monster players are looking forward to this card, because it's just another big body that you can eat with a ghoul or with Osro.
Yeah, and what you also can do, you can play Carentir on it, and then it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not a 1, it's a 10, because the base power goes to the armor.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point.
It's a crazy card itself, by the way. Like, I like the design on these type of cards.
Yeah. It's very interesting, but yeah, as we already said, there is a couple of things that need to be clarified. Another card that's so many people are so excited and worried at the same time.
Oh, I can already see
it's the best boy.
The best boy.
The best boy. Do you really have to factor in 3 points every single time you want to pass?
I need to think about it. I mean, it's cool because, he pretty much does whatever he wants. So, yeah.
Okay, guys. So
I mean, someone will figure it out the way he works. Like he's programmed in a certain way, and I think like we just won't take a lot of time. We'll have Shinmiri open an Excel table and pretty much crunch the numbers and tell you the probability of him appearing on which round. Will pretty much tell you everything. So
okay, so there's actually
community will take it apart easily.
Okay, because we saw some clips from our friend Oshimat, and he said, "Oh, this is gonna be problematic. This is really gonna be problematic." But as you said, there is a way to actually calculate the probability and play around it.
Of course. I mean, everything in a card game, everything should be in a way where you can anticipate something happening. It can't be too randomized, or we'll go back to midwinter once again, and we don't want to go there.
Actually, there's still quite a lot of create, but I think it is good. It's in a good spot. Like people are not ranting
healthy
about,
create.
Healthy create. I think that some people are still kind of upset about bribery, though. Like, do you guys think the cards like that should actually be in the game, or should really be reworked, or is it fine?
No, it's fine. It can really screw you over in some situations.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's
a
really
high roll.
I think it's really based on subjective experience. Like, if you lose a game because somebody high rolled something, you're absolutely gonna be upset about it. But yeah, if you are playing bribery yourself and you just got like really turbo 3 choices, you're gonna quickly realize it's not really a problematic card.
No. Yeah, so pretty much, you pretty much get something good, or you're just screwed, and it's like, man.
Yeah, and since we're already revealing card for the expansion, at the partners program, because the community handles the reveals for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been some drama or questions about how the partners program works. Do you guys want to expand it in the future, or maybe review it in the future, because maybe you think there's too many partners, or...
For sure, we want to review it because it's grown a lot, and the list is getting bigger and bigger, and there's more people coming in, and it's kind of going crazy. So we probably still need to look into ambassadors overall, and we still need to look into partners and kind of think about how we want to proceed in moving forward. Because you pretty much started with something that we had an initial idea for, to kind of have some way to legitimize content creators and people who are streaming Gwent or doing Gwent related stuff, to kind of say like, hey, we've seen your hard work. It's awesome that you're doing this. We will give back to you doing other, adding some additional things for partners, like, being able to take part in PTR, being part, getting the badge. I'm already working with the dev team to getting more kind of additional cool things just for partners. So kind of like growing this community, but I think we will get to a point where it's just going to be overwhelming, or we will have some people who are partners but maybe then decide to move something else and should not be part of the program anymore. So it's a difficult one, but overall, like, we're happy with the direction, but we're still thinking of ways where we could actually give more from the program to the partners themselves.
Yeah, because there's one point that Woody raised. Again, shout out to our friend Woody on one of his videos, actually, where he said that partners could be potentially a really good resource to test Gwent before a release of a patch or an expansion. Like, we know that there's always a closed PDR before an expansion. Like, I don't think it's any kind of secret. People always see partners playing an unreleased game, so they know what's going on. But do you think that partners could be potentially a resource that you guys could use in the future when developing the game, or what is exactly the role of the program as you see it?
I mean, for sure, like, when we had the initial idea for a program, is just to pretty much just to give, like I said, give back more to the community and kind of thank them in a way and legitimize them in some way that they are part of a program that is kind of there's something bigger to the whole thing. So it's not just, hey, we're streaming, so yeah, cool, you guys are streaming, but how can we kind of legitimize you and give back more to you? And kind of also have you part of the development thing. It's of course cool to have these players part of the PTR, but what I've kind of seen, like from the recent PTR we had, there were some things that were kind of leaking out in an uncontrolled way. from the PTR itself. So I wasn't really happy with that 100% because there were things like flying around on Discords and stuff like that. So you kind of see people, we have a whole reveal program. And for me, like spoilers in a controlled way is really, really nice. But I don't like doing spoilers where we kind of get you into this inner circle. We're like, hey, we want to share our work with you and we want your feedback on the PTR so we can make the game better for other players. So what we ask from you is not to leak anything from this PTR because it's under NDA and you shouldn't. And then we see stuff kind of roaming around the internet and we're trying to check who pretty much leaked that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it has plus sides and its downsides for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see kind of how we proceed with that. But what I want, like specifically for partners, is to kind of give more cool things to them to kind of thank them for A, sticking with the game, and B, for continuous like support and streaming and putting into a lot of work to promote the game for us, pretty much because that's what they're doing. Yeah.
And that actually links to what you just said. Because for me as a partner, it's really hard to imagine that somebody who cares about the game and who's playing the game on a regular basis would partake in a PDR and then just leak the info onto a Discord or a third-party website. So this is basically what you said, that you, in a way, in the future, you'll have to review who is part of the program. Because, of course, we cannot know for sure. This is like really hard to figure out who leaked the stuff. But I think that it has to be somebody who maybe played Gwent at some point and then moved on, and for him or for her there is like no consequences of leaking the stuff onto some third-party website.
Yeah. I mean that's just not cool. Like against the super awesome community that we have. So those things should not be done. Yeah,
because you are like your work. And to a certain degree, also the partners and Mateusz, you are slowly building up the excitement for the expansion. Like you're slowly revealing stuff so that everyone gets more.
And I love that.
And that's a huge part of every expansion. So to reveal nearly all of the information at once, that's a really
that sucks.
That's really not cool.
That sucks, and it devaluates all the hard work that people are doing. And what I like about card games itself is I always love spoiler season. And like you guys probably know, I've been very vocal about it. I'm a very big MTG fan. So whenever they have a new expansion, I'm just like seeing all the spoilers daily and kind of seeing what cards they're introducing and who is introducing them, what ways they're doing it. So when we wanted to do our own reveals, I took a lot of ideas from what MTG was doing, and I was like, I really want to like drive the reveals for the expansions that we'll be doing. So I was instantly like, guys, if we ever do reveals, I want totally in on that. So it was a passion project for me, and I love the slow hype of, doing like one card per day, and another card comes from someone else, and then we have another partner revealing a card that is from China or from Korea or from Italy, Spain, like from all over the world, and the community kind of looking for these things, eating all that stuff up, and kind of like sharing it, having discussions about it. I mean, that's the fun part of every card game, and I think this is like what always drew me to the whole thing, because you're kind of like sitting there and predicting like, will this be played? Will this be OP? Well, how will this work in the meta? Will the meta change? But I don't know the other cards, so maybe there are other cards that synergize with this card. And it's like there's so many questions that pop to your mind at once. It's really, really cool because you're constantly thinking like what to do, how to do, and it's just fun. It's crazy. So no one could be like ruining that fun for anyone else.
I think it's something that a lot of players are looking forward to, especially those who are making the decks themselves. They're like, okay, there's this new card. How is it gonna work? Back to the drawing board. Just really writing down all the possible scenarios of how this card could be utilized when the expansion drops. Like this is the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's the fun part of it.
And I think people are also like looking forward every day for like 4 new cards. It's like really great.
I'm checking really every morning.
Yeah,
because maybe somebody from North America has just leaked the cards.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like I check in the morning, but I also check like during the day. I pretty much check my Twitter feed even more whenever we have league season, just to see like who is doing what and kind of what their leaking and kind of it's cool. It's cool to share the love and kind of share the leaks with everybody else and kind of have the whole community like, oh, I'm excited for this, check this out, and it's fun. It's fun, and I think it like having these reveals like brings the community even more together, and because it's like one person posts something and then another person from the community that's very active on social media posts that, and then another person posts that, and then Gwen posts that, and then I post that, and kind of gets also what I like about it is it gets more attention to the partners and people who are part of the program, so it gets more people coming their way, which makes whatever they're doing, if they're streaming, if they're creating other type of content, it gets, you know, more followers going their way and stuff like that. So it's all kind of, you know, it's really, really good for the community itself.
Oh, definitely. Like it actually creates the community on its own.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you can see that when people review cards and they produce YouTube content or stream on Twitch, and then all of a sudden there are people who are coming to the channel and saying, "Hey, I saw your review, so I thought I'm gonna check out your channel."
Yeah, exactly.
So people just get connected through the reviews as well.
Exactly, and that's the whole point of the whole thing.
So yeah, that's the expansion. Like, I'm super happy about the expansion, about everything that comes with it. About even though I don't play NR, I'm still happy about the relevant skin. And yeah. There's a question we have to ask. And forgive me my language. Fucking 20-point Shani. Is it coming back to Gwent?
There might be something like that happening. There might be. I don't know. I don't wanna spoil everything here. So I don't know. We'll see.
I was threatened that if I don't ask this, they will come for me. So I had to. Content 18 plus, Villa. Close your ears.
20-point shiny. Those were the days.
But there is one more question about the expansion. Like people in chat are asking if they will add armor to old cards, like current existing cards, not only cards from the expansion.
Good question.
That's an interesting one. We'll see. There are some changes to existing cards. I know there are a couple changes to Novigrad and a little bit to Syndicate. Not really a lot to Northern Realms itself, so I don't think you'll be seeing a very, very big shift and a lot of cards getting armor instantly, so I wouldn't count on that one for sure. But we'll see. Like it's very hard to add new cards to existing card pool and then start working on cards we already have there and trying to mix all these things and kind of seeing how the meta will shape, because it's just too much at the same time. So I think we've learned from our experiences that it's not good to do multiple things at once, but kind of stick to introducing new things and kind of seeing how they live in these ecosystem and how people take these things and how they kind of think about, oh, let's break this into something else. Let's try to break the meta into something crazy. So we'll see. Yeah.
Speaking about the concepts that have been recently added to the game, dual faction cards.
Yeah.
A lot of people love them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I was hoping for something more than true.
Nothing with this expansion for sure. Nothing.
Okay, so we don't get any dual faction cards this expansion.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's keep it on the down low. I mean, getting crazy with faction stuff. I think either people like them or they don't like them. It's a mix in between here, but also difficult to design. And we also had just a little bit of cards kind of come in that were dual faction that would work both ways. But some of them were like Novigrad Injustice, for example. They became a staple, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, because it's an amazing tool to add some more lore to the game. We're talking about on the podcast about Freiheit units potentially. Like if you really wanted to be lore friendly, that these units could be played in Novigrad, regardless of their abilities completely being not synergized with the faction. But yeah, it's a cool tool. Like as somebody who really cares about the lore, I think it's an amazing addition to the game. But yeah, as you said, we'll have to see how it plays out, and I'm really hoping for some more cards in the next expansion. Then
we'll see.
Speaking of big announcements, Gwent on mobile.
Oh yeah,
that's big.
Yeah, Almost as big as Witcher 3 on Switch, right? Almost.
As an Android boy, I have to ask, why iOS first? And what kind of
that's
market
an
are you
easy
actually targeting with the release on mobile?
That's an easy one, because it's a lot easier to develop anything on Apple devices because everything is very easily standardized, and the platform that they give you when it comes to like developing on it, it's very very straightforward. And with Android, you have multiple devices with multiple softwares and a mix of everything, and you need to take into account that you need to make the game as accessible as it should, so a lot of people can actually play the game itself. So with iOS, it's a lot much easier to start with that and then move on to Android. Like you probably saw, like Jason showed his Android Pocket and his iOS Pocket, doing a flex. So pretty much you guys know that it's already in development, and the plan is to have it early sometime next year. So I mean, it's also important for us to have it on Android because we want everybody to have access to it.
But what is your market target? Are you targeting a specific market or just?
It's a mix. With this type of push that we'll be doing. It's a mix of players who play mobile games, which is like there's a whole different market there. There's another target, which is players who enjoy strategy games in some way because Gwent really takes a lot of strategy. And of course, there are players who are into CCGs, and they're a separate market themselves. But all of these markets are totally different, and you have to cater to them in a different way. So you need to get them hooked in a different way to kind of check out the game and actually play it. So we're pretty much splitting that to these three markets that we really want to market the game to.
And geographically speaking, because a lot of members of the community have been saying, "Oh, Asia is a really big market for mobile games."
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's a target for us. Like you guys know, we have marketing, community, and PR people located in China, or located in South Korea, located in Japan. So, I mean, come on, those are the markets that will be for sure marketing heavily. And of course, still sticking to the markets that we normally advertise to. So keeping stuff rolling in Europe, but also moving on to overseas to the States, because yeah, it's also a big market. And I mean, you know, the famous meme. I mean, you guys have phones. I mean, everybody has a phone nowadays and uses it. So
was that your Beth?
Yeah, it
yes,
was, right?
it is. Yes. Yorvet is my background. The one that's chilling.
Good choice.
I think the next question actually comes from Villa, if I'm not mistaken. Is mobile gonna influence other projects?
It already is kind of influencing anything that we have on the Gwent side, pretty much. So it already has influence to kind of move over like some plans. Like we had some different plans when it comes to Gwent and the development process, like I said, and how we're going to allocate time to things. So we kind of move things around to focus more on mobile. So that is already getting like big attention from the whole team. But when it comes to other like bigger projects that the whole studio is part of, you have to remember that the Gwent team is a totally separate team working just on Gwent. They don't work on other projects. So their time, everything they do is fully allocated to the game itself. And while other teams are working on other projects. So simple as that.
Villa, since that question was actually yours, I would like to hear your input on the mobile. Mobile Gwent, how do you see it?
I mean, honestly, I think, yeah, there's reason to be excited for mobile Gwent. Like I said, maybe a teeny tiny bit worried about how it's gonna influence future balancing of the game, of course, and whatnot. So, but honestly, other than that, I'm actually quite happy and excited about it, especially when it comes to it, since I'm an Android owner myself. So
yeah, we were actually talking about that on the previous podcast, is that mobile has really massive potential to influence Twitch. Because if you look at the stats, and I like numbers, like you see that Gwent has in a way reached its stable size on Twitch. And then we have the tournaments, and the tournaments obviously create a huge spike in viewership, which is something we all love as streamers. We want to have more people flocking in and just create some more atmosphere around the game. And I think the mobile could be huge for the streamers.
In a way, yes, but I think like if you're streaming, you want to be streaming in a very controlled environment, and I feel like your normal like desktop PC with OBS and all that stuff is a lot more stable streaming platform than you would have a phone. I kind of see it like that was in the What's Up Woody podcast, that kind of people will kind of use the mobile platform as a place to test decks, as a place to build decks when they're on the commute, where they're on the go, where you're pretty much, you're on the subway, you don't know if you'll break, if the connection will be stable. Like we're pretty much what we're doing right now amongst the development team. Like we have the test flight version of on iOS on our phones. So we're pretty much doing these tests is like, oh, I commuted to work by subway today and I didn't have a disconnect. And the other guy's like, well, I drove me to work and I was sitting and I was playing the game, also didn't disconnect. And we're like, oh, the other guy's like, oh, I was on a train and it didn't disconnect. So we're kind of like doing these things to kind of check how the reconnect function is working and if it's good and if it's gonna be stable and stuff like that. But we still need to take into account that once we pretty much launch this, we have players from all over the world like connecting on different platforms, connecting at once into queue, and there are people on different servers on different places of the world. Their connection can go wrong at any time. So you probably won't see a lot of people playing Pro Ladder on mobile devices, but I mean, the accessibility and the ability to take, I mean, the game looks incredible on iPad. So taking it on an iPad, sitting down on the couch and playing a couple games where you have good Wi-Fi in the house is, I mean, nothing can go wrong with that.
BJ, do we actually have some viewer questions about the mobile?
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a question not about mobile, and not many questions about mobile, but there was actually a question on that I would like to ask.
Reddit.
Yeah, because we made a Reddit thread. So, is Boeing pre-order the only way to get rid of it?
But rid of it is not part of the pre-order. His skin, one of his skin is.
Yeah, the skin, right? Yeah, I think that's.
As far as I know, there will be multiple skins for Radovid. So now you will not see only one.
The freshest of leaks.
Yeah. So you'll probably see more Ratty Daddy.
And speaking of skins, I think it has nothing to do with mobile, but I kind of thought, okay, we can ask. The versus screen and the 3D leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You said we are working on that.
We're working on it.
Can we expect any leaks in the near future? Or just when the expansion drops?
Well, we'll see probably something. I don't know if will happen as soon as this expansion, because I've seen the team like working heavily now on some of the models themselves, like the very, very anticipated change to Harold the Cripple not holding a shield. So I told the guys, we need to fix this. Like, we have in his description that the guy never had a shield. So everybody's like, okay, we'll just give him another sword. I'm like, cool, works for me. Let's get it done. I mean, community will be happy. The guys are like, okay, we'll just need some time because it takes a lot of modeling. I'm like, cool, but let's just get it done when you guys have a second. Cool. And, it's out there. It's happening. So we will be reworking the models themselves, putting better textures on them. And since now we're not under the pressure where we need to create a lot more models and a lot more abilities to go all together. And I know people are saying Arca's Queen too. That's also on the table. So, I mean, these things are things we need to make better. And we also need to work on how the screens kind of enter and how it looks. But yeah, there is an overall idea how to make that a lot better. So yeah. Also, if you guys want to see the latest can probably see that like the latest mobile version of the thing on iOS is like you have the animated Radovid here.
Ooh, that's pretty nice.
That's the loading screen.
Nice,
So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really,
we're
really
working
nice.
with like different stuff to kind of to play around and have fun with it. So yeah, like I said, there are cool ideas for it, and that's the way to go.
And just to like, briefly expand on the topic before we move to the next segment, because I'm not sure if it was actually you or somebody else from the team, but somebody said that this move to unbind skins from abilities allows you to print leader cards that, for example, gold cards with the former leaders on them. Like you could have an Emir card or a Radovid card or a Foltest card. That's
a cool idea.
I think I heard
It's a cool idea.
I heard it from you guys.
You heard it from us?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
I heard it. I heard it from the community, for like people saying, "Oh, it'd be a cool idea to bring them out as gold cards." Like we'll see. Like we like to keep the art that we have in the game and utilize it in different ways and still have it part of the game itself. So I'm not saying no. I'm also not saying yes. So it depends on the guys, like what they want to do and how they want to reintroduce these cards. If they want to reintroduce them as separate cards, gold cards in the game, that would be really cool, I think.
So
speaking,
go ahead, BJ.
Speaking of Versus screen, there was also DeRay89. He asked also a question about it, like would it be possible in the future to switch manually to older version of the Versus screen, which is leader cards?
Actually, no. Like Jason is very like focused on having the ability to have us to kind of showcase the models a little bit more, because a lot of work goes into those and to modeling the characters and kind of doing all that. So it'd be cool to give them a little bit more light, but also this is like the first iteration we did with it. So it would be really cool to kind of bring it back and do a little bit more. And I think I was talking to some people that it was really cool to do the introduction of leaders as physical leaders on the board instead of just having them as cards, because it draws your attention a little bit more because you actually get to see the characters. So if we can work on those models and make them better, add more textures on them and polish that stuff, then I think it will only get better from moving forward.
BJ touched on the topic of older features, and I have to ask this: Beta Gwent music, when?
That's a question that I asked very quickly to our audio team, and they said that there are some technical limitations as to redoing that music in a certain way, so they are more keen on adding new music instead of trying to redesign that music to go and work with the current like VFX and stuff like that. So that's what they told me. So I was like, okay, if you guys have a long explanation why you should be doing something different than that, and I'm okay with that. Simple.
It is simple. Moving on to the next segment, and that's the one that I'm probably the most excited about, and that's your personal journey as the community manager. Because we don't really get to hear that part of the story. You're always leaking, you are always telling us what's coming next or how certain decisions have been made, but we really want to hear about your personal experience. And I think I'm gonna give this segment to BJ because this idea originally came from him.
Thank you. So, first question was, how did it start? Did you imagine doing this for so long?
Man, I totally did not, imagine this happening ever. And it's funny that you asked this question because the week just before Challenger, when we were working on getting everything ready. We're working like a lot. It was like very stressful to get everything on time with the reveal, with getting the trailer out, with preparing the first cards, with all the preparations for, all the social posts and, everything to be ready and stuff like that. I got invited to a room where people are like, hey, you've been working so hard. We'll be promoting you to senior community manager. I was like, what? Senior already? And it was overwhelming and it was crazy. And, it was crazy, like getting promoted in the midst of all this things happening and all this like good stuff happening. it was just amazing and super overwhelming. And I remember, like, whenever someone gets promoted in our company, an email is sent out to the whole team, and then people start congratulating you. And I got so many emails from so many people. It was so heartwarming. It was so overwhelming. I was like, oh my god, guys, oh my god, I'm gonna cry here. And to go back, I joined the company 4 years ago, and it was September 1st when I first joined. So it was all kind of, it was all part of this big. It seemed like all of this was planned, where I joined as a community assistant after the launch of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, before the launch of the expansions. And I just came into the company very excited, but having not a lot of experience on the community side, because I didn't have that experience. I had some social media experience and some marketing experience and writing and stuff like that, which I had from before. So I did not have any huge expectations. I was just excited to work with the team that created The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which I was hooked on. I was hooked on The Witcher because it's a book that you get to read all the way back in high school for the first time. And my dad was always very big into fantasy, so he would drop me the next books and I would read them, and I would really get into the story. And then I played the first game, Witcher 1, and then I played Witcher 2, and I liked it even more. And then I saw the promotional stuff for 3, and I was like, I saw the trailers, I was like, holy shit, this is blowing my mind right now. And then I get to join the company, and I didn't even have a PC at that time, which I do now. So I bought a PS4 day one for the release with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I played it like crazy. I remember getting a bug just before patch 1.08 where you would go to Kaer Morhen, and Lambert, he would fall into the ground and you couldn't interact with him and you couldn't progress with the quest for the Battle of Kaer Morhen. So I was like, shit, I can't play the game. So I went on the forum, I started typing guys, when is this gonna be fixed? I cannot move on with the quest. And I remember community manager Marcin Momot, who was my lead for a long time, replied to me, and I was like, wow, someone actually replied to me. These guys are very community oriented. And a couple of weeks later, after I did that post, there was an opening advertised on Facebook, and they were like, if you want to be part of the community team, send us your CV and stuff like that. So I applied. I went through the recruitment process, which I remember was very long and professional, because you had a test that consisted of 3 steps that you need to do. Some examples of how you would communicate things, like a communication plan that would go out throughout a couple weeks to communicate an expansion, I think, or just to communicate the game, and all these things. And I did them. And I had my first meeting, and that's when I met Marcin, who actually replied to me on the forum thread. So I was like, dude, you replied to my stuff. That was really awesome. Normally when I'm contacting any type of company, I get pretty much the doors hit in my face and nobody will talk to me, and I'm just sitting there sat in a corner, or I have to talk with tech support who feels like it's a robot, while here a dude just came out and said yeah, we're working on a fix, there should be a patch in the next week. And the patch came when he said it would, so it was wow, easy. So I learned a lot from him. I learned about how the community functions, about what you should say, what you should not say, how you should interact with people. And looking at my journey throughout the years was crazy, because then we started working on, we did the expansions, which I was part of, and I was learning a lot at that time. Our community team was growing a lot, and there were more people being added, and we now have a global community team, which I'm part of. And whenever they come, most of them work remotely, and when they come to the studio, it's it's like family coming home for dinner. It's you see everybody come, and I interact with them daily, but once they're here, it's just amazing. And this team has grown so much, and people already treat me like I've been there for such a long time, while it's only been 4 years. And yeah, once we started working on Gwent, I was the card game geek there, so I was like, hey, anything we do with Gwent, I want to be part of it. And I instantly got into that, and people saw that I was passionate about it, so they kind of pushed me to that way. And it's funny because even when we meet as a whole community team, the guys are discussing like weekly plans and monthly plans and contests dedicated to Cyberpunk. And I always make these jokes like, yeah, we'll do this big promotion, and we'll add this here. I'm like, yeah. Remember, guys, when you're doing that, it's very important that you add a little bit of Gwent somewhere so you can get more players our way. So I'm kind of like the guy that's always pushing Gwent out there in the corner, and everybody makes fun of those jokes. But yeah, I mean, it's been wild, and I would never think that when I joined the company that I would be like a very important central part of Gwent. And I still get, people coming to me like, "Oh man, you're the face of the game." I'm like, "Nah, guys, come on, no." It's like I always play that down. I'm like, nah. I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's okay, but please send more compliments my way.
I'm just a normal guy. I work with you all. I'm just doing my stuff. I love the community. I love, of course, I make some mistakes, like DJ being the fourth most played leader on Twitter. I remember, it's like, and it's also funny because I make the most easiest mistakes, and it's funny because amongst other community people, when we have new people joining the company, we have onboarding for them where we talk about different things, and we talk about like how you should interact online, and that you might get people coming to you asking questions, and that you should not answer all these questions that you're getting. And there's very one important one that's like when you feel like you're angry or you shouldn't post something and you have second thoughts about posting things, usually means you should not post them. And I remember me sitting there like writing that DJ tweet. I'm like, this is gonna be good, but I was like, wait, they might take it the wrong way. No, it'll be fine. It's like I see all these people complaining, and I look at the stats, and I'm like, I'll just send it. And I sent it. I was like, and I saw the backlash. I was like, dude, you are so dumb. You are so dumb. You should not do that.
So how do you deal with it, right?
I deal with it pretty well. Like I try to keep my life, like my personal bubble, like to myself, and I try not to influence it. But you will get to a point where the work stuff will influence the way you feel daily. So for me, it's always good to find, an outlet for you. And for me, the outlet is either going out for a run, going out for a bike ride, or anything that is, any type of like physical activity. It's pretty much my outlet, and I will feel good after that. I will come back and I'll be like, okay, it's fine. And of course, it's thinking how to make things better. It's like how to improve the communication, how to play some stuff down, or maybe commit to a mistake or say that you were wrong, because it's nothing wrong to say, okay, I made a mistake, or talking about, DJ the way he is, or that wasn't the problem. There were other problems that kind of tied into that. So it doesn't matter if he's the fourth most played leader. There are other things that should be taken into account, and you should think about that before you're posting things. So, you learn from these things. Like we as humans, we make mistakes. It's totally normal. And I think that's what makes us human. We take these mistakes, we learn from them, and we move on.
Yeah, and my question would be, because BJ asked how do you deal with making mistakes and stuff like that. My question would be, when you joined and when you first saw like a public outcry about something you said, how did you feel about that? Because internet is a very cruel place. Like recently I've been talking to Ace of Plays, and he made like a really cool meme assimilate deck, and like the first comment was, dude, your deck is trash, just play a Trident's deck. And I was wondering, how do you deal with situations like that when you drop something very exciting and people are like, this is shit?
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, you don't take it, you can't take it to yourself. I mean, if I was taking all the things to myself, I would probably go crazy. Like I remember last year when I was cycling a lot, and and people were commenting on my weight, or that, oh, he lost so much weight, or he's not eating well, or something wrong, something is sick, he's sick, or all that stuff, and it gets to you. And I mean, you're like, don't think about it, but it gets to you. I'm like, guys, I'm just riding my bike a lot. And it's totally fine. And then I see still comments like popping up on every video I do. It's like, oh, he looks a lot better. It looks like he's being fed right now. Everything's fine. So you you will get these comments as being a public facing figure, and I think you will not get away from this. And it's nice that people care about me, and I like it. But sometimes people go into very, very hurtful things. I mean, I know that there are people in the community who will get a lot of shit for some things while they shouldn't. But you need to think about that there's a lot of love there and there's a lot of positivity there. But you will have also people who will go out for the negativity, because it's the internet. That's how it's built. You can't have everybody being happy, positive, and great, and that we love you, we love this. Although we as a company, like, trust me, we get so much good love from the community that it's crazy. Like, people just always say like, oh, CDPR, they're the best in the industry, they're awesome. And since I joined the company, I've been getting like emails that get sent to our reception, and it's emails from people talking about how much they love The Witcher, how much it has helped them through their life, or like people who are going through very tough things in their life, and how gaming has helped them, and how they support us, how they love us. We also get, of course, negative stuff, because there are some controversies over the decisions that we make and stuff like that. So you will also get those. But I mean, it's really you need to find kind of a balance in between these things. Like, you cannot take everything to yourself, and especially when you go on places like Reddit. Well, I mean, you cannot get into those, because some people, like, they're just trolling, or they're just being negative, but they're being negative because something has influenced them in that way. So you need to think about that stuff. So like having kind of a good distance from it and not taking it to yourself, I think is the best recipe. And I think every community manager learns that you cannot take things like deliberately all the time.
And speaking about being the face of the company, because in a way you are the face of the company. You are just a messenger, and people often shoot at you for no reason. Do you get recognized in the streets?
It happens. Yes, happens. It's interesting. Those are funny ones, because sometimes I'm just like riding the subway back from work or something, or I was like coming back from like a party like 11 p.m. in the subway. I was just like thinking about like, oh, I just want to go to sleep, and I see someone looking at me, and I look over, and that person's like, hello, and he's like waving to me. I'm like, hi. I'm like, oh. And then he sits down, like, oh, you're Pawel Burza, really? Oh my god, I'm such a big web fan, and I love The Witcher. And like, and he sits down, and we start talking for an hour on the ride. Wow. And it's really, it's really, really, really cool. Weird ones where like I went to a concert this summer, and I was sitting there. I was like on my phone and replying to some stuff. And I get like a message on Facebook that someone wants to message you. You get like a notification because that person's on your friends. It's like, oh my god, I see you. It's like at this row, this seat, that. Is that really you? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. These are funny things. But it's interesting though, because I've never been used to that. So people kind of come up to you and do those things. And yeah, it's really cool, because when you have like it's like someone commented, it's kind of creepy in some way too. But the interesting ones is like people, whenever when we interact online and we get to like meet them in person, it's like, oh my god, you're this person, that's really cool. Like, I've seen you in chat, I've seen you tweeting and stuff like that. It's really cool to actually meet you in person. It's very like, wow, this community and these people, they all have a face, and it's, and it's crazy. And then the number one comment that I get is like, man, you're a lot taller than I thought. It's like, okay, thank you. Yeah. It's fun.
Speaking of creepy, any love letters? over the
Oh yeah,
years?
yeah. There were some creepy stalker girls. Yes.
And
Yeah.
speaking about your journey, what was your most memorable moment?
Most memorable moment. Wow. I think the most memorable thing was actually going to my first Gamescom with Gwent. I think that was like the biggest thing for me because you actually go out and you get to see like all these people in line and you get to talk to them and interact with them, and then you're like, oh, you're this person, or you're this person. They're like, oh, I love your work, I love streams, I love the content you're creating. And like, if I look at the beginning, like the content we were creating and the first streams we did, I mean, that stuff was whack and it wasn't really nice to watch. And it was very unprofessional. And we were like, me and Luigi were like sitting there kind of like, we're talking to the camera like this, incredible cards. And we were kind of like all over the place. And you look at that and it's like it's a very it's a very humble start and it's a very interesting start, but then you're kind of going out to the community and getting to interact with them is like, wow, this is incredible, and you get to see kind of this whole thing being born around the game. And I always like the concept of community as itself. Like, we are people who are connected by the same love. We're connected for the love of the game. And this is our number one, whenever we came up and talk, was like, it's the connection that we have straight away. Like, you sometimes meet a person and you don't know what they're into. And based on, talking a little bit with that person, you kind of get to know like what they're into, what they're interested in. And, it takes a lot of time. But with here, as being connected by Gwen, was like, oh, we can instantly head off and talk about everything. And recently, like, I think in the summertime around May, I think we had a community meetup in Berlin in the office. And I remember sitting with Demorkis and some of the other community members at 4 a.m. in the morning talking about Gwen meta from closed beta all the way to where we are now. So we're talking about all the broken things that happen in between. And it's just incredible if you think about it, because it feels like it was yesterday, but it's been so many years and the game is being development and changing so much that, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Cool,
speaking about that, Axeman Frost, I still get nightmares.
Oh yeah, we talked about that one too. or about like very early closed beta Hensel that used to promote everything to gold, or
God.
Weather that would reset everything to 1. It's like, those were things back in the day.
And we
No way.
and no unit Squirtle that was like super popular at some point.
Oh yes, yes, that broken thing.
And then Midwinter Dwarfs. Oh my god.
Oh god, yeah. All those things we went through pretty much, and then we were like, remember days.
Silent Partner Villa, maybe you have a question about Burza's work. Burza's work, not Burza, Burza. Remember why it's Burza.
We practiced.
Yeah, we actually practiced. Like, I'm not joking.
I'm interested to know how much influence you actually game design or game design in general.
On game design itself, I try not to have much input into that. I know that we have a design team that is fully capable of doing that, and they also have Jason, who is coming up with his wild, crazy ideas. So we pretty much, I as a community person try not to, influence that, but I would go to them and say like, hey guys, I think that, this, isn't working apparently too well, or I would think that maybe we should kind of update it in somewhere, or change this ability, or kind of nerf it a little bit. And they always get into a discussion with me what they think, and we always compare like what the community sentiment is and what they're thinking, and kind of if we can find like a balance in between all those things. So what I kind of try to have bigger influence over is stuff that is more connected to quality of life, or things that are not working as community members would want them to work. So I pretty much learned how to set up like tasks for leads in our Jira system. So whenever I see something that is cool, I would pretty much put it into their kind of workflow, so they are pretty much aware of it. So I have some influence, but I try to play my cards in a very smart way, not spam them with all the ideas. But if there are some like cool ideas or some quality of life things where people kind of thought about, hey, maybe it would be cool to, like, we were even talking about the leader models, like to fix the models so they portray things better, or to have a seasonal mode that, like, for example, the seasonal mode that we had, the blitz mode, where you had a very short 8 seconds to play a card, that came from the community. And I pretty much took that idea, put it as a task, as like added it to one of the patches that we have lined up in the future. I was like, guys, whenever you have the time, let's implement it and see if people like it. And if they actually like it, it maybe can later become a mode, right? So, I mean, easily all these things that can be done, like let's do them, and why not? But when it comes to like overall card design itself, I'm not a designer, so I will not tell them what to do.
And have you ever found yourself in a situations where you were between the hammer and the hard place, like when the community thinks this something is completely broken and the design team thinks it's okay, and you kind of have to communicate to both parties what the other party thinks?
Yeah, I've had multiple occasions where that happened, but I always try to listen to both, to kind of listen to both parties in this case and try to draw a conclusion from it. Because sometimes the guys, they're like, we just want to wait, see more data, see how the meta shapes. Like, we don't want to push anything very like too quickly. And I get that. Like, I kind of like that approach where you are kind of not jumping into conclusions instantly and implementing changes as we go, but we're kind of like, well, let's see, let's think about it, let's see, and let's gather more data, and then let's think about changes, right? So I like that kind of approach, instead of like, because sometimes, you know, people overreact, and especially online, they're very easy to overreact about things, because it's like, one person sees something and then the other person agrees and then the third person agrees, and then you get the whole kind of thing, you get the ball rolling. And you can really easily see it on forums, you can see it on Reddit. It's like the top most upvoted things are always things that were kind of be like, this is broken, CDPR please fix. And boom, instantly it's like upvote. Everybody's like, yeah, they should do that, yeah, they should do that, yeah, they do that. But some of them are just doing it for the sake of doing it, and they're like, well, I don't think I have an opinion, but I agree what he said, so he must be right. So we try to kind of find a middle ground in between that. Like, we're known for listening to community, but we also got into a point where we were listening to community too much, and we were pretty much designing stuff based off of Reddit. That's because there was too much influence from the community coming into the design team, and too much influencing them too much. So we learned from that step is not to build the game based off of what people are reading us saying. So yeah, this is not a good way to go. But we're learning. Like I said, I mean, Gwent is fairly new. Endeavor for us. It's a multiplayer game. It's a card game, and it's something that we haven't done before. So, I mean, we're kind of learning a lot from this, as you can probably see, because the game kind of moving from one end to another, and a lot of changes being implemented, and especially throughout the development process, we've gone through different things in the game, and we're learning. But I think I can finally say that we're in a very stable place where we know where we want the game to go, and we have a big baggage of experience that we got throughout the time, that we kind of know how we want to proceed further.
There's one question that we really want to ask. How has been your experience through all the versions of Gwent? Because Gwent has changed so much, and there have been moments where the community was just praising you and the team above all things, and the next day they're like, what the fuck are these guys doing? How has been your experience being through all the versions of Gwent, and specifically Homecoming, because I think that was a massive change, and a
Oh,
lot of people were very vocal about that.
yeah. I mean, Homecoming like hit everybody in the team. I mean, we've seen people come and go from the team. We've seen like the influence that it had on people working on the game, where they were very proud of the things that they accomplished in the 6 months very quickly just to be implemented to the game. There were some things that, of course, needed improvement, and we took that into account. But everybody was like, it was a mix because, like, I always tell everybody and in our team, and when we have big meetings and stuff, is like, guys, please don't read everything and take it to yourself what you read online. I mean, you will see positivity, but you also will see a lot of negative things. And it's important to kind of distance yourself from all those things and try not to have that influence you. But of course, it's easy to say, but still, you will have people feeling kind of bad because they're like, oh, I was working on this feature and I loved it. And now people say it's ugly or it's hideous or it's shit or I don't like it or what the hell were they thinking, or are they like fucking retarded or something like that. So, I mean, it's like it hurts. It hurts really bad, and you have to like distance yourself from that stuff. I mean, you cannot take it into account. And also, like for me, when I was, when Homecoming happened, I was also going through a lot of like personal stuff on my personal level, like with my life. So it was all kind of, it was all happening at the same time. So it was a hard one, to get through. But thankfully, I had my bikes, which pretty much helped save me from all the negativity and put in some positivity into all that stuff. So we kept on going, and after all the changes and the changes to game directors that we had and all this stuff happening, and and you get to a point where you are okay, we're in a good place, it's going to get better. Sometimes you're just trying to tell yourself it's going to get better and it's going to be good, but then you see you go online and you see all the hate and the negative. I don't think it's getting better, but you still push and you still persevere to kind of carry out your vision, and you just go for it.
Okay, that's a lot of information for us on how your daily work looks like.
Yeah.
BJ, Ville, guys, do you have any more questions? Is there anything from the chat?
Let me see.
We got Pawel
Chat
rolling.
questions.
We got Pawel rolling. We have to use this opportunity, guys.
Yeah. There was a question from Lucy.
He's drinking and talking.
How do you think the new Netflix show will affect Witcher lore, and does affect what characters Gwen players are familiar with? Do you think it might impact future cards?
It's an interesting question. We pretty much are looking forward to it, but we want to see like what the show will introduce and how it will actually be carried out and how it will influence the Witcher lore overall. But speaking quite frankly, we're like totally separate companies that do different things, and they do their stuff, we do our stuff, and that's it. And we just want to see pretty much how it's going to be, because I mean, for me, as a big Witcher fan, I just want to watch it. I just want to enjoy it, and I just want to see like what their vision for it is, because it's really cool to see other people's visions about stuff. So I think it's going to be good. I just want to watch it and kind of then build my opinion about it and then see how it influences us, if it does in any way. But I think it will have a big influence, being such a big production with having awesome like big personalities play there. So we'll see. Like I'm really excited for Henry Cavill to play Geralt, although he's an interesting choice because he's quite buff. He's quite the buff dude. So it'll be a cool one for sure.
And what mechanics or interactions that were previously in the game would you like to see return? A question by Drake.
I would want old elven mercenaries to come back when you play one, and it would look for a special that would let you play another Elven Merc, and that would let you play another Elven Merc, and you could hyper thin to eternity. Yeah, that's the one I want to come back. Yes. It is chicken chat saying God no. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Scott or hyperthin, not entirely for the sake of hyperthinning, but the Elias combo with thick Geralt of Rivia. And the horned wenches. Oh, that was so amazing, guys.
Or the old dwarf decks that you would Commander's Horn multiple times and have a resilience. They see you 246 points.
and then your opponent would drop the old Letho of Gullet.
Oh yeah. See ya.
Okay, another question by New and Nostalgia. How often can we expect new leader skins? What's their plan for new abilities?
There is a couple like leader skins brewing in pipeline, but we'll see. Like we'll see after Radovid. We'll see how popular his skins are and how the community will like them. And based on that, we'll see kind of how we should implement other things and kind of keep going. We had some already skins that we started working on, but they were not released yet. So those probably will be touched up and added to the game moving forward.
Like exotic skin for Radovid, maybe?
We'll see.
Oh, Radovid Africa. Please, make it happen.
I mean, you guys know I love a good meme. We'll
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could be interesting. Like,
hey,
for example,
hey, Vilas, mom.
Christmas or like, yeah, with certain festivities, like you can have skins for that. I mean, maybe it's not very Gwen themed. Could be fun.
But speaking of that, I really love how certain memes just translate directly into Gwent lingo. Like, nobody calls Dijkstra anymore. It's just DJ.
Yeah.
DJ,
yeah. And you know, 20 points Shani. It's not just Shani. 20 points Shani. Radovid Africa. Like the one thing that and I'm sure not a lot of people are using that, but I've heard it in a couple of streams and I'm using it myself. Royal Decree being called Royal D. It's my favorite. It's my
Royal
favorite.
Those are good. 15 years in the sewers.
Oh yeah, 15 years in the sewers. I think Ryan actually posted something. Ryan Godric posted something.
Yeah.
Twitter. Like, what would you like your girl to whisper to your ear? 15 years in the
sewers. Too good.
Any more questions, BJ?
Yes. By Bing 1. Also, will more old beta abilities come not to degenerate?
Once again, because it cut off a beta.
Will more beta abilities come back, but not to degenerate?
That's a good question. That's a good question that I don't have an answer, to be honest.
Okay. Maybe Risik.
Risik would know. Risik the man.
There's another question by Raja Chola. I'm not sure if you can answer it, but I will try to ask it. How is the Iron Judgment sales going on? Has it met or exceeded the company expectations?
We're still looking into those. It's a little bit too early to judge based on sales. For sure, we weren't 100% happy with the performance of the first quite expensive pre-order that we had. That's why we decided, based on community feedback, quickly to do another pre-order that would be a little bit less pricey, but it will also feature the cool card back, because we're very proud of that card back. So we'll see. It's too early to kind of judge. We will have to wait a little bit more and kind of gather more data to give an honest answer about that.
Okay. And like neutrals, like there are a lot of neutral cards like Mandrake, the Witcher Trio. Is anything going to happen with them in the future?
I know that a lot of cards will be getting some updates because the guys constantly look into cards that are not seeing much play and they want to rework them. But like I said, it's very hard to do to do kind of reworks at the same time and kind of go back to old cards and kind of know to kind of or like Nova, to kind of go back to these cars and kind of redo them at the same time while you're working on something different. So I don't know. So we'll kind of see, because it's a mix of doing multiple things at the same time, and it's always problematic. And I know the guys are always like, I'm like, guys, you need to fix that, and they're like, oh, we don't want to go back to old stuff again. It's like, we want to work on this new cool stuff that we have. You know how it is.
It's more exciting, right?
Yeah.
And question by Ryan: will there be packs for only cosmetic items?
We'll see. Like we want some options just for cosmetics, and I know that, of course, players who have been with us since closed beta, they would ideally want only packs that feature cosmetics, that they don't feature kegs or anything like that, because we don't need kegs. We can craft everything because we have millions of scraps. And I know it makes sense for you, but think about the new players.
Exactly. New players need them kegs.
Yeah, and we need to be kind of catering to some of those and kind of going that way. But yeah, I get the idea, and I think we also should be focusing a little bit on just having separate stuff that is for like we had the statement recently, like to having some stuff that is meteorite powder dependent, or have some packs which are maybe sold for money but they only focus on fantasies. So we'll be mixing things up there for sure.
I think we have time for one more question. So BJ, search for something really, really spicy.
Let me see. I mean, this is Seven, our team captain. He has a very spicy question.
Let's go.
Given that Gwent is not Candy Crush Sega and has a niche audience, did they take into consideration that they might rely too much on mobile being successful?
We've taken that into account, but we're not, like you said, it's a good statement. We're not Candy Crush Saga, so we're not gonna be for everybody, let's say, because card games are totally not for everybody. Like I see easily my mom playing Candy Crush on her phone, but I do not see my mom playing Gwen on her phone. So we're taking that into account, of course, and we'll pretty much have to wait and see. In anything that you do, in this case, you need to take a little bit of risk and see if this risk will pay off or if it won't pay off. But we're very hopeful when it comes to having the game on mobile devices, because I feel like card games should give you the possibility to have them on the go and have an option to play the game while you're on your couch and you're chilling watching YouTube, or you're watching Netflix and you're like, oh, this show is boring, or you're sitting with your girlfriend and you're watching a show that she's really into, but you're kind of sitting there like, oh man, I wish I could be doing something different. And you pull out your phone and you're like, oh, I'll be playing a little bit. And she's like, oh, you're not paying attention. I'm like, I'm totally paying attention, multitasking here. So yeah, I mean, hopefully if you have something more accessible, it should be easier to play. And I think that for card game players, they like the accessibility to have the option. And yes, someone nicely said, I think it's Juniper Jean in chat, Burza is single, isn't he? Yes, I am. That's why I make these crazy comments. That's why I can do that. Yes.
Yeah, but I think we are all very hopeful about the release on mobile.
The release on mobile and in general the future of Gwent. With the future being talked about right now, Burza, at the end of the show, do you have any other spicy leaks that the thirsty Twitch boys have been waiting for?
No, I'm out. I'm all out of good ones. We had the card, so that was amazing. Apart from that, I'm just excited to move forward and to kind of bring new stuff to the game. And hopefully the most important thing right now is to get the expansion out, and then after that we're already working on a really cool expansion, a very nice team to it, which I cannot say much more because I'll spoil it. And then of course iOS release will be for us something very, very important, and I'm happy that it's all looking at the whole year and looking at to where we are now. It's been an incredible journey, so I'm excited for it.
Pawel, you are an absolute hero. It was such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Like I still can believe that you are actually here. Like we're just
nah,
like,
easy.
okay, Bibo said just ask Burza, easy. And we're like, okay,
Yeah.
it's only the second episode, like he's gonna say no, easy. We asked 30
No.
minutes later, okay guys, I'm gonna be on the show. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone is doing any type of content and talk to me online on the stream, I'm like, just hit me up. It's easy. Like I will do it. My schedule is very like, it's crazy. It's very packed, but on some weekends it's easy just to sit down and talk for a couple hours. I mean, that's it. It's simple. Just ask. I mean, you never know.
So once again, thanks for being here, and BJ and Ville, as always, it's been a pleasure. Even though Ville, once again, the silent partner in crime.
Sorry for talking too much.
It's my Finnish roots.
He's just from Finland.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask one question. When are you going to stream again?
Oh God, no! I was hoping that I'm gonna dodge that. I would like to stream more, but it's always a problem. Like on some weekends, I could probably do it. It'll be easier now in the winter time because I'll have less riding bike time and stuff like that. So it'll be easier to squeeze it in my schedule. And I'll probably won't be training for anything crazy. So I see them coming back for sure, but we'll see about the cadence of those. Because streaming is difficult, to be honest. It's not that easy.
Just
people judge you.
Marathon stream easy.
Oh God, that'd be interesting, guys. I'm running. It's kilometer 40. I'm about to die, but hey.
And just imagine people asking about leaks while you're just basically dying, trying to get to the finish.
It's like guys, it's like Burza, come on, you gotta leak. It's like probably when I'll be like 2 kilometers before finishing a marathon, where you're just trying to get there and you're almost dead inside. People would be like, hey, leak something. You're in such a state that you will be just telling them everything. You'll be like, I'm so tired. I don't care. Nothing else matters. It's like, I'll tell you everything. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Once again, thanks for being here, Burza, BJ, and Ville.
Thank you
to our viewers, guys. If you want to stay in touch, also off stream, follow us on Twitter at Novigrad Podcast. The whole episode is gonna be available on Twitch. Just go to my videos, and it's gonna be there forever because I actually made the collection, so it's not gonna disappear over time. And if you want to watch on YouTube, it's gonna be there in a couple of hours. Just type !YouTube. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And at the end of the episode, a special shout out to 2 guys who helped us making this episode happen, and that's Dr. Dennis, who really helped us with the questions and the layout and stuff like that, and Watch Flake, who actually helped us figuring out how to approach Burza and how to talk to him without any kind of issues possibly happening during the podcast. So yeah, guys, once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, and once again, thanks to all our guests. And the next episode is going to be in 2 weeks. We don't have a guest yet. We'll have to figure something out. Maybe Pawel can help us a little bit there. We'll see.
Easy.
We'll see. Okay, guys. Yeah, we are going to rate somebody in a moment, but for now, once again, thanks for watching. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.